Start this baby going. Watch them come in. Oh, two. Everyone. Here they come, here they come. Wonderful. Welcome, everyone. Make sure you sound out in the chat if you want to say hello to people. There's going to be lots of people who know each other. And I want you all to feel free to chat yourselves, otherwise relax. But I think we're nearly there. Everyone's here. Hey, so many people. Hey. This is great. Okay, great. I think we're all here. Hi, everyone. Welcome again to Wine Coach at Home, Chenin Blanc edition. My name's Nick. For people who don't know me, I'm the Somm at Peter Pan / Peter Pantry, cool little wine shop in downtown Toronto. And I'm here with two friends that I'm really excited to talk wine about. Let me introduce you. She is an amazing sommelier, business person. I have so much respect for her. Steph is here, and she is here to show us that we really know nothing about wine. Steph, thank you for coming. Thank you. How are you today? How was your day?
Good. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
Start to the week.
Excited?
Say what?
Are you excited to taste some wines?
These wines are delicious. Yeah, no, I'm super excited.
Yeah, great. And our third co-host today is a great friend of mine. He has been trying to foist these wines onto me for many, many years, but I'm super excited to finally bring them, showcase them to you, as well as have him as well along for the ride and to give us all the nerdy information about this wine. Kieran Coyne. Hello, Kieran.
Hello. Hi.
Are you excited?
Hello. Very happy. Thank you. Yeah. Here, happy to be on that ride.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I hope everyone's got their wines. I mean, I hope if you haven't by now, I think it's...
What are you doing already?
Absolutely. But this is going to be interesting. This is our first, for 2021, my first producer focus. And, I thought how better to, talk about Chenin, but also talk about an iconic producer, Domaine Guiberteau, by tasting 4 of their wines. And I think this is a really cool opportunity for us. To be honest, and I have a guilty secret is that I don't really love Chenin Blanc. It's not my favorite white wine. I'm really sorry. I don't love it the way I feel like every other sommelier I've ever met loves it.
Brave statement, Nick.
I know. I'm really sorry.
I think people are just going to log off.
No. Yeah, that's fine. They're not here for me. They're here for the wines. Absolutely. And when they'll leave, they'll be here for Steph because she's...
Oh my God.
But I thought this was a really interesting way to understand the grape a bit more for me and understand why whenever I've ever been at a table with wine people and a bottle of Domaine Guiberteau appears, that everyone gets really excited. And I'll admit that I love the wines that are in a glass. When I've ever had them, I've been super impressed. But, it's always been just a one moment in time. And I thought this was a really cool opportunity to see a bit more breadth and see a bit more of understand the complete story of Guiberteau and sort of hopefully have some fun with it. Kieran, you obviously represent the wine here in Ontario, but did you have more experience with Guiberteau sort of in your life as a wine person?
I think my first time drinking these wines was probably 2 or 3 years ago. So not loads of experience. A friend of mine gave me a bottle from a few years older that I got to drink last year, and it was one of the top wines that was like really powerful and quite a sort of show-stopping wine. But yeah, I'm still in shock at the Chenin Blanc comment that I just like what. But it's at least you like Riesling, right? So
I do.
But yeah, I've had a few of these wines, and I'm very honoured to work with them as for the sales agency that represents them for Ontario. Yeah.
He's going to retract that statement at the end of this. I
think it's going to blow up memes on the internet. Yeah.
It's going to haunt me for years. But I can be proud of what I love, and I can be proud of what I don't love. And maybe I'll change my mind. Who can say? Steph, for the people at home who've not had a lot of experience with Chenin, like in a nutshell, how would you describe Chenin Blanc as a wine in general? Like,
I think it's a white wine, which is I don't know, very food friendly. Like there's so much about it that I think is appealing to a lot of people in terms of the different styles that it can make, from sweet to dry sort of thing. It's very versatile with food, which is awesome when, in a restaurant setting, but also friendly enough to kind of drink on its own. You don't need to necessarily have food with it. So, yeah, I don't know. It's got a lot going on, and there's a big spectrum in terms of the quality of things that you can get, I think. And it's also found, like if you have a favorite country, you can also kind of, chances are there's some Chenin available there. Like we grow it in Niagara, which is pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's super versatile and just like delicious.
It's one of those wines for me that like really, I get the sensation of density and concentration in the wine. And like for me, I don't know, over the years, that's always been a signifier of like complexity and like quality, is that like you get like, you feel like you have to pull apart things and you have to like let it unwind. And Chenin has always kind of done that for me, to like sort of, I feel like there's so much going on in the glass, like Syrah can do it and Riesling. And one of those things that I really enjoy is like, just having a glass. And I hope that everyone, has had a glass of Chenin before, so that you've got a little note to compare. And if you haven't had Chenin before, well, you're kind of having it at its epitome. And I feel like any Chenin you have after this may feel a little lacking, but that's okay. This is about like a little window into the world of Chenin Blanc. Loire Valley. This is, for people who don't know where this is, this domain is in the Loire Valley, which is, the home to Chenin Blanc, Sauvignon Blanc, Cab Franc, Muscadet. And there are three, in my mind anyway, there are three major appellations that kind of define what the styles of Chenin Blanc. There's Vouvray, which is just this breadth, this huge spectrum of wines and styles that you can get. And I mean, it would take weeks for me to talk about Vouvray. Sauvignons, which is like this home of like dry, concentrated, amazing, crazy, unique wines. And then Saumur, which is where we are today. And the cool thing about Saumur is that like the wines are dry. So like Steph was saying, that one of the big things about Chenin is that it does have this like variety, that you can get sweet and dry and still and sparkling. And that is obviously something that can sort of make you nervous when you go to a wine shop or the LCBO and you're like, what am I getting? What's in the bottle? But Saumur is a really great example. If you prefer a dry wine, stick to that region and you're going to pretty much be guaranteed a delicious dry white wine, which is great. Let's talk about some wine. Wine number one. Domaine Guiberteau, I'm going to put it in the chat. 2019 Saumur. Everyone's talking about cheese. Relax, guys. It's coming. Cheese come. It will get there. Cheese corner is always here. Yeah. First impressions. This one. Yeah, you. Yeah.
Who,
you,
me?
you.
Me?
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
I forgot. First impressions. Yeah, I don't know. When I first took it out of the pouch, I thought there was a little bit of reduction to it, but it blew off super quickly. And it's just, I mean, it's their entry level wine, and it's spectacular. I mean, there's a freshness to it, which is like there's a pure fruit flavor, which I find super appealing. But it's ripe fruit on the nose, and then you're kind of expecting maybe a little bit of a fuller bodied sort of palate, but then you drink it and it's linear, and it's like it makes you salivate, and it's got kind of everything to it. You kind of think that this is, it's got everything to the max, and then you kind of look at the other wines, and then you realize that the other ones have even more.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, okay,
Yeah.
this is where I'm starting, But
yeah, this is a really good one to start off. Like you'll feel like, wow, this is hit you in the face, but it's like we're only building from there.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, it's definitely like a slap in the face white wine. It's super vibrant, right? It's super shimmeringly acidic and fresh. These wines are made by a gentleman called Domaine Guiberteau, and he is probably in his like mid-40s, and he's a Loire native. And it was his grandfather that originally purchased these vineyards. So some of the vines are really old and were tended to by his grandfather, passed down to his grandfather's son-in-law, and then reclaimed by Romain in 2000. So he's been making wine here for 20 years. Yeah, certified organic as well since like 10 years ago.
I've noticed a big difference too in the glass. Like, I mean, I took them out of the fridge and they've been sitting in my glass for almost half an hour. And as they've warmed up, they become a little friendlier, I would say, too, in terms of aromatics, right? So it can seem quite closed at the beginning, and then as it warms up a little bit more to room temperature, you definitely get a little
I've had this bottle open since 2 p.m. today, and that's what I'm drinking. It hasn't been re-chilled, and it's delicious, and like it's definitely a wine that's with wines like that have this level of complexity and concentration, like warming them up is like is kind of the only way to drink them. You need to take the chill off just to let all those aromatics and the flavor to like begin to open up and like express. And that's a way to counteract the youthfulness of this wine to get more out of it. The solution isn't necessarily always to age it in a cellar. In my experience, like you can decant it, you can open it up for a few hours.
Yeah.
Or you can warm up. There are ways to get around youthfulness so that you don't feel so guilty opening a bottle when,
shake it.
Yeah. Other people are saying leave it in the cellar. So, What do you think, Kieran? Do you like this one?
I was just gonna say, like when you order wine like this in a restaurant and they bring you over like an ice bucket, and you're like, actually, I don't want that. We just need this on the table, and then we'll drink that first glass pretty cold, and we'll let the wine warm up. And we'll probably experience the softening out and widening itself, and like that's nice. Yeah, for sure. These wines will taste great. Like year after year, I'm sure they'll just improve.
Yeah, and like if you want this at a if you are browsing a wine list at a restaurant and you see it and you're like, oh, I want to try this, like order it, ask them to open it, have a cocktail, and then start. Like you need to like think ahead of time. Especially in a restaurant, for me, is always like you do have to play that game of like balance the time you have and the amount of time the wine needs to be at its best. But I also like the point Steph you made about food. Like, how could this not like go with anything? Like, so much flavor. Yeah, like with something fatty or something like it's just so delicious, spicy. This would be perfect with anything that's got a bit of spice to it. I hope everyone's liking this wine. I mean, if I had taken this out of the fridge maybe half an hour ago, I probably wouldn't be waxing as lyrical as I am. I've been sort of sipping on this all afternoon, and it's mind blowing.
I think Chenin too, like what you were saying, if you're sitting in a restaurant and you're with, when that time comes again, and you're with friends, and everyone orders something different, it's because it's so like sort of adaptable and diverse. Chenin is probably a overlooked grape in terms of a wine that can satisfy many different dishes. It doesn't just have to go with, I don't know, white food or white, whether it's fish or poultry or
white colored food.
Yeah. It really has, like, this anyways has the structure and the power behind it to like go through a variety of dishes, like you said, a little bit of spice and all that sort of stuff. So it's it's good, or on its own,
Kieran, do you think this is this is Domaine Guiberteau's entry level white, and it's about $50 a bottle? I think that's that's all expensive, but I also think that this is the peak of that entry level. There's probably very few winemakers in this region, Saumur, that are making entry level wines, comparable to this. And I think, this is a really great example of what what you should expect from entry level Saumur, or just the general Saumur. It's dry, there's concentration, there's acid, as much as acid as you could possibly want. And I think this is such a great benchmark for what Chenin should be everywhere. Obviously there's sweet wines, but the market is dominated by dry wines. This is a really, really great example of dry Chenin, strict, young but drinkable.
Yeah, I can't think of any time I'd be mad at being poured a glass of this. Really.
Oh, so good. I love this. I really like this. This is such a delicious wine. This is such a great start. So I hope everyone liked it.
He's being converted. Well, he's quarter of the way through.
I don't know if that's going to happen, but we'll see. Wine number 2, Les Moulins. Kieran, do you want to explain what Les Moulins, the word, the term means? What is it referring to?
Well, it's the name of the wine. It's not like a single vineyard or anything, but it's an area of Breze, which is a different area to where the rest of the wines are from, which is Breze. It's on tuffeau limestone, but it's got a very sandy topsoil. These kind of styles.
Yes, Rachel, I know it means windmill.
If you don't know Moulin and you have a French wine list, it's crazy, right? Because you're just on every wine. Anyway, yeah, the wines are typically, I guess, on sandier soils are just a little bit softer, and we'll see if this one is or not. But.
Sorry to interrupt. Someone was asking, what temperature are you two drinking the wines at? Steph, you said you took yours out of the fridge a bit.
I think half an hour before we started. Yeah.
Hero?
I guess, yeah, probably around 50.
Yeah, right. So that's about an hour. I mean, that's a really good rule of thumb. Half an hour.
There's not any.
If you're going to drink a white wine, take it out of the fridge half an hour at least, and just let it warm up ambiently. If you think it's a little cold, a good trick that some do is we cup it like this, and we just let it let our body temperature warm the glass up. If you want to, I've heard you can put it in the microwave, but I think that's wrong. It just feels wrong to me. I've absolutely heard someone say you can put wine in the microwave, warm it up.
Just sit on it for a little bit and it'll warm up quick enough.
Yeah, just be patient, I guess, is kind of what I would say. Really sorry to interrupt, but I think that was a cool question. I like this wine. It has this Chablis thing where it's like, it's fun. Like, is it corked or is it lees? I'm not like 100% certain, but like, I don't think it's corked. I think it's just like super, like the nose is like got so much going on that you kind of, your brain just sort of short circuits.
I find this one too, for me, that I noticed right away that the length was longer than the first one. It definitely lingered on your palate for a little bit longer. Like, and I'm still kind of tasting it. So I thought that was cool. I don't know enough about like what would be except for the different fruit. I mean, like élevage is the same, I'm assuming, right?
Élevage is the same. Yeah. Élevage is our fancy word for what happens after we ferment the wine before we bottle it. And this wine spends 6 months in a mixture of like steel and old barrels that are like 600 liters. Some people call them demi-mured. And then it goes into a steel vat for 6 months as a finished wine and then bottled. So it's bottled a year after the harvest. And then it gets, there's no fining or filtration. And then there's, and then it just gets bottled and sent to the market. Yeah.
It's got such a nice like purity of fruit flavor to it. There's I don't know, there's nothing muddled on the palate. It's very
So I think what I'm hearing is that the acid is a little lower than the first one on the second one.
I feel like the body might be a little bit bigger. Like to me, the acid feels the same, but it's like integrated better into the body of the wine. I don't know.
It's like I was tasting them side by side, and there's something they share a lot of common elements, but there's a lot that are very different. And like I feel like it's a very unusual experience to taste even two wines made from the same grape by the same producer and have completely different experiences or primary experiences. You know, I think Burgundy, obviously, you know, it's easy for them to like raise up the appellation and get it higher, but like, I don't know whether that's, I've never really had such a distinct, you know, experience between two relatively, you know, similar wines. It's delicious. I like your comment on the length. It is definitely stays with you.
I think it's also cool too. I mean, difference of terroir, if there is much of that, which it seems to really sort of come through in the glass. Like Chenin is a super expressive grape of its place, right? So like everyone talks about Riesling and Pinot Noir, but I think Chenin deserves a sort of a place next to those two grapes in terms of how well it can express where it comes from. And I mean, this is proof of that, right? So.
And it's kind of one of, I feel, and I will touch on it a bit later, but like one of the like, you know, sad things about Chenin is that it doesn't have the reputation that these super terroir expressive grapes have, like globally or like in the public's consciousness. Like we talk Riesling and Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, but very rarely we talk about Chenin, or does it have the same popularity? Which is, I think, you know, it's a shame because this is an amazing wine and like comparable to any of the greatest wines in the world. White wine, anyway, okay, white, red, color is irrelevant. I really like this. And for 2019, like I mean, I don't like talking about ageability and I don't like showing people wines that aren't ready to drink, but you know, I can see that this is, I'm happy to drink this now, but I can also be happy to drink this in a couple of years.
Totally.
It's a fun thing. I will try not to pour people, share wines with people that aren't ready to drink it. That's not, why would I? That's silliness. And if you do that, you're doing the wrong thing.
That's double wrong.
Nothing worse than reading a review of the LCBO in a magazine or an email, and it's like 95 points, great in 2030 to 2040. And I'm like,
thank you so much.
Relevant conversation.
Yeah.
Like, that is not what people want to hear. Like, give them useful information. Sure, it's great in what, 10 years, but like, I don't know. You can't tell people to buy wine on one hand and like, who has cellar space? I barely have cellar space.
Do you know what I was drinking like 10 years ago as well? Like,
I mean, this is 2021. Is there a 10 years from now? We don't know that. We don't know if there's 2020.
yeah.
Is 2030
I need
even
to drink my
reality?
feelings, not Stella or Chenin for 10 years.
It's always been my my like, if the apocalypse ever happens, like I'm breaking into one of those downtown cellars and I'm just breaking open everything and I'm just drinking myself to oblivion and then just like see what let the world take me, whatever, you know. Because why are we wasting it? You know, why are we, I don't know.
Well, this is like the perfect excuse of like, you buy a couple bottles so that you can, drink now, see what happens in a year, see what happens in, 5 years. And then who knows if you still have a bottle left in 10 years, you've been able to see the evolution. And I feel like a wine, like, well, both of them, like they will change completely between now and 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Right. So, and they won't get worse. They'll only get
worse
up until, for the next decade or so. So it's pretty cool.
If there's anyone in the chat that has some old bottles of Guiberteau that they're willing to donate to us to do another session of old versus new Guiberteau, hit me up in my emails because I will happily take them off your hands. But this is, I mean, I'm happy to drink this now, and I'm really happy we got to share this. I think, this wine was always going to get a little lost in the lineup. It's not the entry level. It's not the monopole. It's not Breze. It was always going to be stuck sort of in this no person's land of how do I talk about this wine? And I think, it's a really delicious wine that it's a great step up from the Saumur. That gives you a little bit more, gives you a bit more length, a little bit more complexity in different ways. It's building upon Saumur and length and broadening it rather than just like intensifying it. So I think that's super fun. Someone was saying that they're drinking their wine straight from the Tetra Pak. And do you? Yeah, it's a wonderful way to drink wine. A little straw. There was a conversation, Kieran, about soil. People keep touching upon when we talk about Saumur, we talk about Breze, and I think this is a really good opportunity to like mention briefly, because I think some ways soil is it's a good part of the conversation, but it isn't the most important part of the conversation. But I think this is the point where we talk about soil. So this is soil talk, guys.
Okay, so just mute and feel free to go to the washroom and come back and we'll be done talking about soil.
Yeah, soil talk.
I mean, when I like blow off when I talk to my friends that are not on a wine panel about soil and the relationship between soil and wine, there's not a lot of concrete evidence, no pun intended, but there's like this way beyond me, and what effect does the Tuffeau limestone have on these wines in the glass? Do you taste the soil, or does it add to the texture or the finish, or does it raise the acidity or lower the acidity because of the acidity of the soil? I don't know. But the soil itself is like over 100 million years old, right? It was forced up from the sea, and so it's got all these deposits and all these layers. And then when you're farming organically, and why people love natural or minimal intervention winemaking, is that those healthy vines get into different layers of soil through the topsoil and into the bedrock or into the solid rock. And that's like where I think the vines are super healthy, and the vines are super pouring all their energy into the grapes, depending on the yielding and the trellising and all that stuff. And so we know that like the level of input and energy and expertise that goes into the vines and what soil they're on does make a huge difference. We have limestone outcrops right here Niagara, right, and Prince Edward County. So we know that those have become better wine regions than areas that are just gravel or sand or other types of rock. So yeah, there are books behind me about rocks and topsoil, and I can't read them.
Yeah, Steph, I mean, you're well studied in like Italian wine, especially Barolo, where soil is a big part of the conversation, especially when we talk about other great regions of wine. Like, is there an easy way for people, you think, to like conceptualize soil and why it's important when we talk about these great regions?
I mean, I personally, I think for me, it's more of a texture thing. I think, when you know that maybe it's a little bit of power suggestion, but like I get a different sensation in the mouth when it comes from a sandy soil, right? Versus sort of power that comes from limestone, or you've got maybe like a richness that can come from clay. So I think it's probably too easy to put those things in little boxes, but also it kind of helps when you're trying to sort of dissect a texture, because I don't know if texture, it's sort of personal. Like you have to figure out how you feel texture on your palate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, sorry, go on.
No. I was gonna say, what's everyone's favorite soil? Mine, I'm a blue slate kind of guy. Moselle kind of.
I like schist a lot.
Blue slate. I don't know. Kieran, do you have a favorite soil?
I like schist.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's some are so distinct, right? And like I think everyone talks about limestone, and maybe that's something that more people would be sort of familiar with. But like granite's then got its own sort of power in the mouth, and I think what I deep diving a little bit into Breze for this, I was reading a lot about how like they've done these, they've really studied the soils on Breze now, and they're all over the place. So it's not a uniform hill at all. And I guess when you're, depending on what your producer or what producer has fruit where, you're getting kind of like a mix of all this stuff, which is also cool, because then you're getting these layers of different textures on your palate. It's not just sort of a silkiness from sand or a power from limestone or whatever, right? So it's I guess I wasn't super sort of attuned to that when it came to Breze in particular. So it's, I don't know.
Well, this is the aside that I'm going to quickly touch on, because, and I'm going to share something that Steph sent us about half an hour ago, that is like the soil types of this region and the level of detail people go in. It's almost incomprehensible. Like it's almost, it is
for soil.
incomprehensible, but it is such an interesting thing. So we go to Breze, which is kind of the home, and like,
oh wow,
people have mapped out the different soils from these different regions. So this is a satellite, underlaid a satellite. You can go with like a bit more of a traditional map, but like this is kind of the level of detail that geologists and terroir experts sort of go into. And I feel confident in my knowledge of wine. And if someone asked me to decipher that and explain that in a webinar, I'd be like, no, I'm out. Thank you so much. But
do you get the name of the clos on these?
No, there's no.
Okay.
And it's all in French.
One of them, they all look like the different clos.
Which is probably, I mean, we know that that's kind of, there is a correlation between vineyards and soils. Like, I mean, Burgundy has taught us, if Burgundy teaches you anything, it's that soils and vineyards kind of have a connection. This is as far as I'm going to explain this, because it's, I was like, thank you, Steph, for sharing this map with me. And 20 minutes before we start, and I'm scared to like think about it too much. But I didn't want to talk about soil for a long time, but I do want to say that it is something we always talk about and we always like reference, and it does impact the wine and the quality of wine. It does give it a quality to the wine, but it isn't I think you're also free to take a step away from soil and go, this is the too hard basket, and like know that we all talk about soil, but it isn't. You don't need to know soil to know what the wine or understand, feel confident about buying the wine. And I think it's super interesting, and there are people who like think about this 24/7, which boggles my mind. But you can,
Profession.
you can literally dig deep into this, but you don't have to. Anyway, that's our soil talk. We're moving on. Wine number 3. Let's do this. I'm going to post it. Kieran, introduce me to wine number 3.
Well, we mentioned monopole earlier, and there was a question, I think, about monopole. But for those that don't know, monopole means there's one owner of this vineyard or particular Clos, which is the Clos de Guichaux, which is a Nick, I think you're muted, which is a Walden vineyard.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. And so what was I saying? Yeah, Clos de Guichaux. Guiberteau is the only producer who makes a Clos de Guichaux. This wine sees 100% barrel fermentation. It's the only one, the only white that he makes that sees 100% barrel, whereas the other whites are partially fermented in a mix of barrel and still. And then it spends 12 months in 600 litre demi-mured, and then 6 months in still before being bottled. So I think like when I sip this wine, I was like, oh, now we're like not talking about like freshness and linear and racy energy, but more texture and like creaminess. It's still like very, very lucid.
Mm.
It's almost the friendliest on the nose too.
It's such a different experience on the palate. I think the round, like the oak has allowed the wine to round out, and that acidity, while it's there, isn't as jarring. And that's such an important, like, such an important aspect of this wine that gives it so much, like unique. Makes it unique. Well, in the context of what we're doing, and I think we go from a more linear acid-focused wine to
this one's more honeyed,
muted, but also like broad and I love this wine a lot. Okay, we can stop the reductive talk, guys. No one cares about reduction. I can absolutely guarantee you the thousands of people that have talked. I'm not talking to Steph and Kieran, I'm talking about chat. No one cares about reduction. Nobody has ever cared about reduction. Stupid. It makes no sense to anybody. So Guichaux is a village next to Breze. Super confusing, but also, it's reality. I really enjoy this wine. I have the 2017 and the 2018 in the shop, and it kind of, I forget why I bought the 2017 in the first place, but
because it was available.
True, but like sometimes I buy a wine, I put it on the shelf, and then I like 6 months later, I'm like, I don't remember this wine, and I taste this, and I'm like, I remember why I bought this wine. It is rounded, delicious, like complex, concentrated, super like fun, and I'm really happy that I have this on the shelf, which is always a good indicator for me. Like, did I make a bad choice or not? I mean, my life as a sommelier is full of and bad choices. Is it what and this is a good choice. This is absolutely a good choice. Yeah. What's your opinion?
I have a question for Kieran. Do you know, does he use French oak barrels, or what sort of what does he use?
I'm pretty sure they are French oak. Yeah, they are Burgundy Barrique too. They're 225 litre.
Yeah. No. To me, it was so interesting how you got like a knowing that it's barrel fermented. It was like subtle in terms of oak, anything on the palate, which was when I first smelled sort of the first two wines, initially I was getting a lot more like vanilla and sort of oaky flavors. Those kind of subdued, but I expected that more on this, and it was the reverse, you know? So I don't know why. I don't know. Also, I don't know if I'm the only person that had that. So if I was, then, but it's such a powerful wine, and like I think the oak, like, you know, kind of supports that power to it, you know. So it's, but yeah, it's friendly and it's pretty and it's got honey notes to it, and you know, only being a vintage before, it's barely got any more age to it, but it's kind of, it feels like it's kind of, you know, nestling into its skin sort of thing. So really like
Yeah, I feel like it's got like a very like cohesive structure to it. Like
Is this
pretty collected?
I don't know if you know, but is this like this is Romaine's choice to release it a year later? Like, I think that's a really interesting, and like a sign of a winemaker I respect a lot, where they choose to release the wine later at a better time, when it's had a time to like rest and mature before just like pushing it out, like Burgundy, where they just like shove everything out, or Bordeaux, where it's future wines. You just buy wines from the future. I think this is a really, like, it shows that they have the confidence to go, okay, like this wine is acceptable, and like I've made a choice to keep it back in the cellar or keep it back in the winery until I feel like it was ready for people to drink. I really respect that. I don't know if people share that.
I think we all share that view, right? And I think it's nice when you can do that, when you're not in a rush to empty your cellar to make space and sell for cash flow reasons and all that kind of thing. Also, like they are. There's been a bunch of in the chat naming some other producers too who are in this kind of terroir and trying to rebuild its reputation and trying to get rid of that sort of bulk production, commercial wines that were made in the region. And we talked about Chenin, how there can be some bad examples of Vouvray or Anjou or Saumur. And so they are, I guess, trying to keep hold of it being a heavyweight wine, like a serious, great wine. So why would you release it when it's not sold or whatever? I don't know. But yeah, maybe we can ask Romain, you know.
And here he is. No.
And make a video. And here he is. Yeah, he can make a video. I don't know.
No. I think there's a wisdom that comes from waiting to release your wines a little later than like as soon as they're ready and letting them mature. I appreciate it as someone who has to buy current release that doesn't have the ability to age wines, and as a consumer who again doesn't have the ability to age wines, and restaurants that have huge cellars that can wait years and years before serving them are extremely rare. And you know, we need to have more winemakers like this who are giving people the experience of, you know, I mean, this is 2 years old. It's not like it's not, you know,
it's not like a legal requirement or anything.
But at the same time, it shows people that like age is, you know, age worthy. The ageability of wine is something we talk about, and for good reason. So now it's the time we all have been waiting for, cheese corner. I shared on my Instagram story what my cheese is, but I will share it again. I really enjoy how everyone loves cheese corner, and I hope I literally haven't tasted this cheese, but I bought this cheese today, Swiss cheese. I wanted a goat's cheese. I wanted something like a little harder, not like soft goat cheese, because I feel like the ones had that power to deal with the saltiness. So I got the Helpbach Swiss Chevre. That's great. I'm going to drink it with the Clos de Guichaux.
So this is a hard goat cheese, and you just cheese corner is you eating cheese.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? because that's what people care about. They care about what food pairs with what wine. We can talk about wine as a thing unto itself, but the public want to know what they're eating. And you got to pay extra if you want me to see me eat a whole meal. You only get to see me eat cheese.
Yeah, there's some really good chat going on.
Yeah, so where's your cheese? Yeah, where's your cheese?
I had cheese yesterday, so I actually took today off. But I did get some double Gloucester on my in my laundry.
So this cheese is like you talk about Loire Valley, you kind of talk about goat cheese. Obviously with Sauvignon Blanc, but I wanted something that had a bit of both, that sort of spoke to the region. Obviously, this is Swiss cheese and not of the Loire Valley, but I've got to, whatever Monday brings, whatever cheese is there on Monday is the cheese I've got. But this is a really good example of how salty, like the saltiness of like an aged sort of like hard cheese can compete with that power. And I think, there's not a lot that this wine can't sort of handle, and you don't have to think that delicate foods go with delicate, like with white wine. Like it's a fallacy that magazine editors have like promoted for decades, but it's like at the end of the day, you eat whatever you want to eat and drink whatever you want to drink, and nobody should tell you otherwise. But this is so delicious. I wish you all had some cheese. Some of you should have cheese. I mean, I did know. I love this. It's a good. Oh, the wine is actually even better. You kind of get all those base notes, the saltiness sort of, and the intensity of the cheese. The takes all that high tone out, and you just get all these base kind of like ground, earthy soil kind of notes, which is super, super wonderful. Now it's time for the last wine, everyone. I'm really sorry. We've got to
I can't believe we're at number 4 already.
The wine that everyone wants to know. Wine number 4, 2017 Breze. I'm going to put it in the chat. How is this wine drinking for you? Oh.
Blind, you wouldn't. I don't know if I'd go to the Loire. I mean, like I've been looking at the chat, and I mean, everyone was like Burgundy, 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 which I kind of completely agree with. But it's one of those wines that fascinates you in the sense that like you can't quite pin it down. Like it's strict, but it's generous. It smells a little bit like oak, but it's got super minerality to it. Like it's got all these different factors to it, which is what I think makes a wine like this super exciting. So, I mean, I don't know if you really should be drinking this wine now. I should probably be waiting a little while longer, but sorry, Nick doesn't like to sell our wine. No.
It's fine. I have 21. Live in the moment, Steph. Get over it. Get over the salary.
Yeah. But
when you spend a lot of money, sorry, Steph, carry on. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was going to say when you spend a lot of money on a wine, like in a wine shop or in a restaurant, and it doesn't add layers of complexity or like nuances, it's super annoying. And I find this wine really does taste just like money. It tastes like a lot better, a lot richer, a lot more complex. And
everything.
That's why I'm happy to pay for it.
Yeah, absolutely. There is nothing worse than spending a lot of money on a wine. People either say it needs more time or it's like more hype than like substance. But this is not hype at all. This is substance. It's so delicious. I'm really happy that I have half a bottle.
It's so different to the first one. Like it's like they're two different, completely different like wines.
So this is from what I was reading, this has a bit of newer oak on it that gives it that kind of like Burgundian flavor. I think is probably that's where you can attribute the Burgundian sort of comparisons to? Is that, am I
Yeah,
right?
100%. This is 24 months in 225 litre Burgundy barrels. 50% new, for those who need to know. So, yeah.
Is this the best wine you've had today?
Yes.
Kieran, is this the best wine you've had today?
Yeah. It's the first.
Yeah, this is the best wine I've had today, hands down. Hands down. And this is 2017. I'll show you the bottle.
Oh, 2015 for lunch.
And I'm extremely happy with it. And like again, it shows a wisdom in the wine from the winemaker to like hold it back even one more year to give it a little bit more time before they release it. And I don't agree with you, Steph, that I think this is perfectly drinkable now. I mean, obviously it'll be delicious in more time, but like if I had more bottles in my like access, I'd just drink it every day.
Common corks, yeah.
You know that always. This is super great.
We're good. You don't have to drink alone.
Yeah. What people talk about this wine as being iconic for like Chenin Blanc. Like, do you think that reputation like is valid? Like, do you think this is an iconic example of Chenin Blanc? Anyone?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would totally agree.
The amount of like energy and precision in the finish, yet the richness when you first sip it, it's like, yeah, it's crazy good. And it's so super cool. And I just don't think people know that Chenin Blanc can reach these heights and can do this for you. Like, it's not a major player in the by the glass wine lists, and it should be. And I mean, this wouldn't be by the glass, but like my point being, the Chenin absolutely rocks. And like,
come to Peter Pan when we reopen, and I'll have this bottle.
Breze by the glass. Yeah,
we'll go through a bottle.
I'm sure you felt some.
You'll all come.
Yeah, I have one bottle. That's fair. I have one.
Why get 4 pouches when you can get 1 glass?
Oh, like this is funny. Like everyone's got to stop thinking like what we used to do. What we used to do was broken. Let's think about what we can do, and if it means
we don't
five people get to drink this, 5 people get to taste this wine that they would never be able to taste otherwise, unless they spent what $300 at a restaurant, which even I don't spend that much money on wine. Like wine should be about access, not about being it. We shouldn't have to gatekeep wine. Why not pour it by the glass? I'm gonna do it. And I will promise I promise you all, you hear it now, when we reopen, I will find a bottle of Breze and then I will pour it by a glass. And then maybe only 1 bottle, and then maybe only 5 glasses, but if you want the glass, I will give you the glass.
Yeah.
This is what Chenin is. Like this is kind of where in the conversation I want to pose the question as to like, why isn't Chenin as like great and popular or widespread as it should be? Like, you know, it's not like it has in terms of consumption. It's you know, there's nothing like Chardonnay, Pinot Grigio, Sauvignon Blanc. Like they overwhelm in terms of numbers, but like there's no reason why this couldn't be grown anywhere. South Africa, obviously, it's grown in huge quantities, but like it always troubles me that like it's so underappreciated, this wine. And I think that's something I wanted to talk about with you both, is to go, okay, well, some people on this chat and people watching, Chenin isn't a wine that they're very comfortable with, and it feels obscure and niche, but I mean, it shouldn't, and I don't understand why. And I wanted to see if like you both had an opinion as to like why Chenin sort of underperforms in terms of like popularity.
I have two thoughts.
Okay, love it. Go.
I think the acid makes a difference to people. I don't know if you know, you can, if everyone's super comfortable with pulling out how high acid is, but that really can be a factor for people not liking wine and they're not quite sure why. And the other part, I think, just has to do with marketing. I think that Burgundy is easy to understand because of the two grapes. When you look at the Loire, and I mean, forget about red grapes, white grapes alone, you've got, you know, three main ones. And then now you have to start digging deeper into the different appellations to know what grapes come from where. And that alone is kind of daunting if you're not super, super into wine. So I think just the way that we tell the story is less direct, and it's harder for people to understand that. And so then it's easier for people to be like, I know what Chardonnay is. I know what, you know, even Riesling for that matter, it's got sort of more of a home. Whereas I don't know, if you were to be like, if you were to ask, you know, the average consumer in a restaurant, like, where does Chenin Blanc come from? They might say South Africa. I don't know if France is like, though it's the home, you know, like, do people know that it comes from? And I think that in our market has a lot to do with what's available in the LCBO, because I'm pretty sure you can find more Chenin Blanc coming out of New World countries than you probably can from Old World countries at this point. So,
Kieran, what's your sort of experience, and like, how are you, like, how do you sell Chenin? Like, you've got.
I honestly think that people ask for, they describe what the flavors that they want, and they often describe so close to Chenin that it's like, it's crazy that they aren't asking for Chenin, but they might just say, I want something really mineral, really dry, quite vibrant, you know, loads of texture. And like, you're like, oh, I have a Chenin, like that's like a 30 to 35 buck Chenin by the glass. Like, they usually like it. I just don't think people know what to say when you're pouring like a Montlouis or Loire by the glass or something. It's just not like a confident boost to look at that word and be like, yeah, that's kind of like how I feel what Steph said about acidity and marketing is kind of how I feel about Riesling too. And German Riesling is like obviously a big, like, I'm sure most people in the chat love Riesling, and on the seminar love Riesling, and it's just like not something that sells really, really well, really, really popular.
Yeah, look, I was thinking about this a lot today, and like, I think wine marketing, I mean, popularity is governed by marketing, and like we've been talking, like how magazines and newspapers and wine writers have been talking about for decades. And I think Chenin is a wine that is really hard to put into a category, because it's equally great as sparkling, but equally great sweet, and equally great dry, and equally great still. And in the Loire Valley, all these styles hold sort of equal place in terms of how they're respected. And so I think a lot of people were like too hard basket for Chenin, and they were like, Chardonnay is much easier to understand, and Riesling is much easier to understand, and Pinot Grigio is much easier to understand. But like, I think this is the time where we have two people who are amazing sommeliers and amazing wine people who I respect, who I think we've got the ability between three of us to explain those nuances. I think people are capable of those nuances about where to go, how to drink, what it's delicious. And like, you know, Chenin would be great in Niagara, and there's a little bit of Chenin around, but like, it's, you know, there's a reason why, you know, a winemaker will probably choose Chardonnay before Chenin if they're going to plant anything. And I think, you know, that's kind of, as much as this was a journey of self-discovery for me, but like, I also think that it should be a journey of self-discovery for you to go, okay, this is a grape I can put in my back pocket, and this is a grape that I can drink and I can enjoy, and like, this is what I should expect in the glass. And obviously this is a top example, but like, it's also very emblematic of what Chenin is. And I'm super excited to like, that I got to share it with all of you, because I think, I definitely want to drink more, but actually I do, and I've got more right next to me. So, yeah. Steph, what was your favorite wine of the lineup? Or like, not maybe your favorite wine, but like, what excited you? Like, what was interesting? What was something that you took away from this? If you got that clarified in your head.
I mean, in terms of drinking right now, I think I'd want to drink the Clos de Guichaux. That would be kind of my go-to of the four. But to me, I think the flavor concentration and sort of the purity of flavors came through the most. It's pure, it's crystalline, the acid's there, but the body's there to support it. They're super ageable, all of them. It just sort of top quality all across the board for sure. And yeah, I mean, I didn't need anything with them, and I drank them all just fine. So,
you know, I absolutely want. I think if you're at a wine shop or you're at a restaurant and you see Domaine Guiberteau, like stick with it and ask some questions about, like, look at the vintage, see how it's like what people think. Like, this is only going to be better with food, and it's only going to be better with company and with age, if possible. You know, maybe there is a bunch of older vintages that's been stuck in cellars for a year in the restaurant. So maybe this is how the renaissance of like wine is that there's just wine sitting there that's been aged for a year. So, you know, this has been, I don't know, a wonderful eye-opening experience for me. Kieran, what wine has like spoke to you the most today?
I think I want to go number 4. Like I know it's a splash out and all that, but I would buy a case of that and like hide it away. And I know, because I just know that there'd be magic moments later down the line, and I like that feeling. But yeah, if it was Monday night and I was having dinner, I'd probably just go for number 1. Like after opening it for half an hour, I was super into that freshness. Just like really refreshing.
I hope we'll see a lot of one on wine lists around the city. And if you've done your job right, we should. There is no situation where I wouldn't be comfortable ordering this at a restaurant and enjoying it, you know, obviously in the microwave for 30 seconds or so, but like, I think it'll be super delicious. Before we go, there's a couple of fun things I want to do. Firstly, I want to shout out to our sponsors, not sponsoring me or giving me or anything. I mean, giving me money, but like paying for some of our colleagues and our industry friends who are out of work, who may not be able to afford to come to these fun things. And there are, you know, some people who have donated their money to ensure that, you know, our friends have been able to participate, which I think is super important in a time where it's easy for me, who works full-time 5 days a week. I forget that, like, you know, there are people, my friends, who don't have that luxury, and, you know, who coming to something like this would be super beneficial, but like way you know, unapproachable in terms of their budget. And so thank you to them. I'm going to put them in the chat. Some of them are watching, some of them are participating tonight. So if you are, you know, I'm not going to, I mean, Christina Roman, the Bountiful Wine Merchants, and In Wonders We Trust, who, like, grateful that they recognize the value in like supporting our wine people to come here, which I think is super fun. And I hope the people who are attending for free, who are out of work and who are Soms and passionate and feeling a little like exhausted by the world, that we, you know, to thank them in person one day, hopefully. And then finally, this is the new segment of the show. I'm going to give away a bottle of wine. So I've got a bottle of the Saumur. That's not the Breze, guys. I'm sorry. I mean, you're definitely not paying enough money per ticket. But I'm going to give one lucky viewer a bottle of Chenin Blanc. Okay, this is a new thing. I've got everyone's attendee names. I've got this weird internet wheel of doom that's going to pick randomly somebody's name. So let's see if this works. Probably won't. Are we ready? Who's excited?
You do it now?
Yeah, I'm doing it now. Yeah.
Wow, don't log off.
This is stupid. Come on. Wheel of Doom. Okay. Everyone's names here.
Oh,
Full screen.
oh my gosh. This is
Button,
awesome.
and it makes this horrible noise. Who's gonna be? Who's it gonna be?
Oh,
Oh, if it was fucking Bruce Wallner, I'd have been.
oh yeah.
I don't know.
That's amazing.
That's fun, isn't it? We're gonna do this more
That
often.
made my night.
I'm literally gonna do this every week. So, Celia, congratulations, Celia. I will reach out an email and I will make sure you get a. I'll send you the bottle of wine and I promise I'm going to get you on to do Canary Island. It's literally on my list of things to talk about. Do a session on Canary Island, which I think Kieran and Steph would both absolutely attend and have you as the Canary Islands talk about them. Steph, thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate your time. Like I said, I respect you so deeply, and I'm so honored that you got to like participate in my fucking Bert and Ernie sideshow here.
Thanks for giving me a chance to try all of them side by side. I finished all of them, which is why my cheeks are so red.
I hope one day you'll come back and maybe we'll do Italy, which I know is where
can we just go to Italy?
When I think about your expertise, it's always with Italy, and maybe we'll talk Barolo or something fun like that. And yeah, thank you very much. I am deeply honored that you are willing to partake in this like craziness. And Kieran, thank you very much. Thank you for convincing me to buy these wines and try them. And I hope everyone had fun. And if you follow Kieran on Instagram, and he will tell you all the restaurants, I'm sure, where you can get these wines. You don't have to just come to Peter Pan. I don't give a fuck where you buy the wines. Just buy them, drink them, and enjoy them. Kieran,
I think we're very grateful to you, Nick, for hosting such a awesome Guiberteau lineup, because I don't think any market can ever do this, like offering to how many people are online, all these 4 samples next to each other. It's super cool that you went out of your way to find those pouches and get it to everyone's houses.
Whatever I want.
And there you go, that rhymed. We're out of time.
We are. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. We ran a little bit late. I appreciate everyone's. I hope everyone had fun. I honestly, am I converted? I like. Is it better?
Producer is key.
There.
But I was only kidding. I will happily drink any Chenin Blanc that's put in front of me, and I'm super excited to talk about these wines more with you. If you come to the shop and you want to buy a bottle, happy to support. And I'm absolutely going to keep buying these wines and putting them in the shelf. I think this has been a really testament. I understand these wines better, and I know I can sell them more. So I hope everyone Chenin 2021 is the year of Chenin. I don't think that. I don't want. That's a stupid thing to say. Thank you very much. Kieran Coyne, thank you very much. I appreciate you all. I love you all. Everyone have a lovely night. I'll see you next week. There's 1,000 things I wanted to tell you about next week, but you're going to just have to wait. I don't have time. I don't want to keep talking about future wine coaches, but they're going to be pretty epic, and I'll put them on Instagram tomorrow. Be safe. Have a good night. Thank you for coming. I love you all.